Since we know for a fact that we are going to get another season of Star Trek Discovery, there are questions that should be asked to this. One of them being, is Star Trek Discovery worth sticking with? Because, in my opinion, Star Trek Discovery barely qualifies as a Star Trek TV show. It feels like it's just Star Trek in name, but there's no real substance in it. I mean, part of the problem with Discovery is that they started off with this big war, and this bloody, violent war, and that's just not Star Trek. With Star Trek, the idea behind Star Trek is this utopian future where humankind is exploring the galaxy, they're making friends with other alien races, they're discovering scientific breakthroughs, they're seeking out new planets, new civilizations. It's supposed to be this wondrous adventure. And of course, as we know with Deep Space Nine, there was the Dominion War. Now, the Dominion War is a bit slightly divisive among Star Trek fans, as I think Deep Space Nine is overall. But for me personally, I like the Dominion War because it was done well. And by the time the Dominion War happened, that happened in like what, the tail end of season 5 of Deep Space Nine? Because they built up towards it. They didn't immediately start off with this big war. They built up towards this conflict. And it added a lot of weight and a lot of depth to this, to this storyline. But with Discovery, they start off right off the back with this war between the Federation and the Klingons. And part of the problem with doing a prequel story is that ultimately we know what's going to happen. We know the Federation is going to be fine. We know the Klingons aren't going to win because, well, as we know from all the other Star Trek TV shows, is that the Federation is still around. It's fine. It's not going to be destroyed by the Klingons. So, already a sense of investment in the story has been taken out. Now, I remember when Discovery was first announced, there was an original idea that they were going to do with it. Now, if I remember correctly, each season was going to be set in a different time period, where one season you would have, I don't know, have it set 200 years after the events of Star Trek Nemesis, and you see where the Federation's gone to that point, where like what it's morphed into, what it's evolved into. We see what the state of the galaxy is in, perhaps, and then the next season we set it, say, 20 years after TNG, or the season after that, 30 years before the events of Enterprise. The point is, though, is that it opened up a lot of possibilities. There was a lot of flexibility to storytelling with this original idea. And originally I wasn't sure about it, but I grew to like it a lot because I'm thinking, yeah, there are a lot of possibilities of this. Having each season of Discovery set in a different time period, with a different ship and a different crew, it does open up a lot of flexibility and room to grow. But no, the studio decided to scrap that idea and stick with one ship, one crew, and one time period. Now, that's fine, but you have to make it work. You have to make the characters likeable. You have to have your audience invested in the story. And I think with Discovery, they just failed, utterly. The characters are so unlikable. For me personally, Lorca and Saru, they grew on me. I wasn't crazy about them at first, but I grew to like them as time went on. And spoilers, Lorca is now dead. So, for me, the only person I like in there is now Saru, but I don't think for me personally, he's not really a strong enough character for me to stay invested in Discovery. And I fully admit, I pretty much just stuck with Discovery just because I'm a Star Trek fan. But they do need to step it up a lot. Now, I think Season 1 ended on a strong note, with the exception of the last 10 seconds, because that bit with the Enterprise appearing was just pure fan service. But it did end on a fairly good note, for me personally anyway, Star Trek Discovery, but they do need to step it up for Season 2. And I think since they've had all the criticisms, all the reviews from fans, I'm hoping that they make a bit more of a traditional Star Trek series. Because I like the self-contained storylines of each individual episode. I mean, there's been a lot of comparisons between Discovery and the Orville. Now, if you don't know what the Orville is essentially the Next Generation, but a spoof version of that. It's like a parody Next Generation. But the Orville feels more like Star Trek than Star Trek Discovery feels like Star Trek. It's quite amazing, really, though, that the Orville feels more like Star Trek than Star Trek does. And I think that Discovery needs to go back to basics a little bit. Don't try and amaze us with these big flashing lights and flashing, pretty battles in space. I mean, I'm a sci-fi fan. I like space battles as much as the next sci-fi fan does. But you can't just stick with that. You have to give us some substance with some decent and nice and great storytelling. And I think with Discovery, they just didn't really have that. But will Season 2 be worth watching? I don't know. As at the time this video being recorded, we don't really know anything of Season 2 at the moment. But I'll definitely give it a go, because I'm hoping that the creators of the show have taken on board the criticisms that they've received. And they're going to do something different with Season 2. And I pray they do something different with Season 2, because they do need to turn it around. Because something tells me that if they do, well, with Season 2, if they do what they did in the Season 1, there isn't going to be a Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.